In this video, we're going to talk about 10 things I wish I knew before becoming a shrimp boat captain. Before becoming a photographer. Hey everybody, welcome back to Run and Gun. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm JT, and I wanted to create this list of things that I wish I knew before becoming a photographer, because there's a lot of misconceptions out there about photography and making money and making a living as a photographer. So hopefully this list will help some of you out there make the journey into becoming a photographer just a little bit easier, even if you're doing it just for a hobby. So let's get started with the list. So the first thing on the list of things I wish I knew before becoming a photographer is it's expensive. Everything in photography seems like it's super expensive. Every little piece of gear seems like it just costs so much money, and it's really a world of you get what you pay for. If you try and go the cheap way out, you'll realize that gear ends up breaking within a year or two, and you end up having to spend that money over and over again replacing the gear versus dumping a lot of money and just getting something expensive in the first place. So that's the first thing on the list, is photography is expensive. So if you're looking to get into photography, even as just a hobby, things add up pretty quick. So with that, I did make a list of 10 photo accessories under $10. I'll link it up here and down in the description. So check out that video as well. Number 2 on my list is photography is therapeutic, at least for me. When I have a camera in my hands, it's just me and my camera, and sometimes my subject, if let's say I'm working with a model, or if I'm out in nature shooting landscapes, just me and the camera and nature. It's just all of the stress in the world. Sitting in an office or doing some sort of 9-to-5 job is just gone. It's such a stress relief to be doing photography, either out shooting or back at home on my computer editing in Photoshop or Lightroom. It's just something that's so different from a lot of other jobs out there. Number 3 on the list is technology is changing every day. So it'll seem like you buy a DSLR or mirrorless camera one day, and the next day it's already out of date, and Sony or Nikon or Panasonic or Canon has already produced 10 more versions, or the Mark II, Mark III, Mark IV of the camera you already own. You just have to use the equipment that you have, make the best of it, and don't get discouraged when you don't have the newest gear. It's okay. The best camera is the one that you have with you, and the one that you know, and the one that you can take great photos with. Number 4 on the list is photography is time consuming. Not only are you out shooting, and then if you're shooting in RAW, which I highly recommend you do, you're gonna be editing those RAW photos, and even if you're just shooting JPEG, you're probably gonna be cropping or doing minor adjustments and then uploading those JPEG photos as well. So photography is definitely time consuming. It's not only just the shooting, it's the editing, it's the pre-production and post-production, and it's gonna take a lot of time and effort to become that great photographer, and putting in those hours and really learning your camera, learning techniques, lighting, composition. It just doesn't come overnight. All right, so we're halfway done. We're at number 5 on the list, and one of the things that I've learned and wish I knew as a beginner is that the more you know that you don't know. So the more you learn in photography, the more you realize that you didn't know so much when you got started. And sometimes that's kind of embarrassing as a photographer. You look back at what you thought was a really great image or a technique that you thought you may have perfected, and you realize that with all this new knowledge, you can do that way better. And sometimes it's a little bit frustrating, and sometimes it's super relieving to know that you don't know everything, and there's always so much more that you can learn in photography. And that's one of the things I love about it. It's almost like a never-ending journey. There's just so much to keep learning and keep perfecting. So the more you know that you don't know, if that makes sense. Number 6 on the list is photography is an amazing way to meet friends. There's all sorts of social media groups and communities out there like Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. There's so many different ways to meet other people that are interested in the same thing that you like to do. So make sure you take advantage of all of those groups. Sometimes there are photographer meetups on Instagram, so take advantage of those and make friends that also like photography. So with number 6, number 7 is that I wish I knew photography had so many toxic communities. There are good communities out there and there are also bad communities out there. There are people out there that want to share a bunch of knowledge with you, and there are people out there that just want to brag about their own photos or talk down about other photographers or models, and those are really toxic communities. And if you can, try and avoid those communities. You'll usually notice within the first couple weeks that people will start to talk bad about other photographers, and you don't want to be a part of those. They're not worth your time, and it's not worth talking down about another photographer to build yourself up, because that's pretty low. Avoid them altogether. They're not fun, and they're not going to help you grow as a photographer. Tip number 8 that I wish I knew about photography before I started is it's not about the gear. You don't have to have the newest camera gear that was just released last week. I still have my Canon 5D Mark II that's over 10 years old now, and it still works and it still takes amazing photos. So it's not about the gear. It's not about the best lighting equipment, the best audio equipment if you're doing video, the best anything. If you have equipment that works, learn to use that equipment the best and know how to use that tool. All photography equipment is a tool to make images. So make the best images with what you have, and then when you can afford new gear, by all means buy it. But make sure that you know your camera inside and out before you go upgrading to new gear, because if you don't know how to shoot properly or get a proper exposure on the gear that you have, buying a new camera really isn't going to help you that much. Number 9 on the list is I wish I knew that I was going to be my own biggest critic. Yes, sometimes you're going to post images out there and you're going to have people that hate them or critique them, or you're going to get some sort of opinions that you don't like. But as a photographer, again, with the more you learn, the more you're going to learn that some techniques work or don't work, or you think something turned out great in camera and you blow it up on your monitor as you're editing and it just doesn't seem to work. So it's good to be hard on yourself so that you're only publishing your best work and that you're critiquing yourself before someone else critiques you. But that's just one thing to learn, is sometimes you're going to be your own harshest critic. So number 10 on the list of things that I wish I knew before becoming a photographer is that the worst day out shooting is better than a day just sitting in an office or a cubicle not doing photography. Photography is so much fun for all of these reasons that I listed. You can make friends, it's a stress reliever, and it's just a blast to do. So those are all things that I wish I knew, and hopefully there are a couple tips in there that you can take as you're starting with your photography journey to make life just a little bit easier for you. Make sure you look out for part 2 of things that I wish I knew before becoming a photographer coming soon. And that is all for this video. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you like this video. Hit the like button and let me know down below in the comments maybe something that you wish you knew before starting photography that could help out someone else. So that's it for this video. I'll see you guys next weekend, and until next time, get out and go shoot.